So my background looks a little different and the lighting's a little weird because I'm filming in my RA's room while she's gone. Hi, Chelsea. Sorry about there being no video yesterday. I had a plan and my plan backfired, so I missed a day. Sorry, guys. So here's what I'm thinking about. I'm guessing a lot of you, if you're on the internet, which you are, you've seen that meme that shows some people like Kim Kardashian and Lady Gaga and Kristen Stewart and says pop culture icons. And then underneath it shows a bunch of women from geek culture, most of which I didn't know, even though I consider myself a pretty big geek. I only recognized one of them. It says something along the line of, you know, screw pop culture, I'm not giving my daughter a Barbie, I'll get her a ray gun, or something like that. And I first saw it, I was kind of like, yeah, props to geek culture, that's really cool and everything. And then I was like, oh, I'll do a video about it. Sat down and did some research, and I found some holes in the theory. A lot of people pointed out that there are two sides to both pop culture and geek culture. The women that are showed in the meme are, of course, fully dressed, very modest, strong, powerful women, but there's also the side of geek culture that really does objectify women. I'm sure lots of you have seen the comic book costumes that are really not much more than really unappealing swimsuits, and you know, that's something that a lot of people in the geek community are really proud of. I'm not really, but that's just me. There are plenty of women in regular pop culture who are amazing. I think that there are plenty of women in regular Hollywood that you can look up to. I still think that typically the icons in geek culture tend to put off a different sort of image. So that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit today. In doing my research for this video, I saw a lot of things about like Kim Kardashian and Kesha, Lady Gaga, and I didn't know very much about them. They're not something that I find appealing, so I had to dig a little bit, and mostly what I found was how unrealistic it is. They don't seem like real people, even though I know they are. I know that these women have lives and they have relationships and they have dreams and goals and feelings and all of those things that everyone else has, but that's not what we see. They're really unrealistic. They're very plastic. And I don't mean that in the traditional mean girl sense of the word, but that's really what comes off. They're very shiny, they're very polished, and they're very sellable. They're brands. And I think that's something that Lady Gaga especially gets a lot of compliments on, that she has sold herself as a brand, and I think that's really cool for the industry that she's in, but it doesn't make her a real person to her fans. The person that is on the CD is not who this woman probably is. Now that could be a judgment statement. If you're a Lady Gaga fan and you know better than I do, more power to you, but that's what the image comes off as. To me, something amazing about women in geek culture is how real they are, despite being fictional. The actresses that play these women often take on a lot of those characteristics, or they just have those characteristics to begin with, and that's why they're cast as these women that we look up to. If you're a geek, and especially if you're a girl, you've probably heard a lot about Emma Watson. Even if you're not a geek, you've heard of Emma Watson. She is an amazing actress. She plays Hermione Granger in the Harry Potter movies, and the thing that amazes me about her is that when you look at the interviews that she does and a lot of the press that she puts out, you see how a lot of times photographers and the media have tried to objectify her in a way because she is gorgeous and she's beautiful and she is a geek icon. And she has stood out against that a lot, and a lot of the interviews that she's done said, why would I put myself out like that? Hermione wouldn't do it, and I definitely would. I think both Emma Watson and Hermione Granger are really good role models for girls. They're strong and they're intelligent and they're not really afraid of that. This is one that you probably all heard. This is not just a geek thing, this is a regular pop culture thing now, but I think it's still incredible and still worth talking about. In the Hunger Games trilogy, the heroine of the story is Katniss Everdeen. She's been forced to take on quite a bit of responsibility in caring for her family, and then she's raped and has to go to the Hunger Games, and she is deeply flawed. She has a lot of issues in her own person with figuring out who she is and fighting with herself as well as the circumstances that she is in. So Katniss is a wonderful role model, and I think they did a really good job in casting her with Jennifer Lawrence in a similar way that Emma Watson has really taken a stand against a lot of the things pop culture tells girls. I think Jennifer Lawrence has done a similar thing. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the interview where she talks about how she is considered large for an actress, and she always says that she wants to be fit and healthy, not skinny. She doesn't ever want a little girl to say, I want to look like Katniss, so I'm not going to eat. That's just one of the things. She's also very real. She's an amazing actress, but she's also a real person. When you see her in interviews or on print or on screen, She's very friendly, she's very personable, and she's very much herself, and she's not afraid to be silly and dorky and a little bit weird. And I really like that about her. The last one I'm going to talk about is something that was kind of a surprise to me. Is a woman named, I'm going to say this wrong, it's May Bialik, I think. If you watch The Big Bang Theory, she plays Amy Farrah Fowler, Sheldon Cooper's girlfriend, and it's funny because several episodes before Amy comes on the show, one of the other characters makes a comment about we'd be just as likely to have TV's Blossom on our debate team as someone else. I don't remember the exact line. And then several episodes, several seasons maybe later, the girl who played Blossom on TV, which was some other show from a long time ago that I didn't know what it was. My mom had to explain it to me. This girl comes on the show. And what's cool about it is this actress, whose name I can't pronounce, was a child star. And she had her own, not her own show. I think she was on another show. Once again, I don't know what the show was. But she was a TV star. She was really good. People really loved her. And then she went on and became a neurobiologist. And she's really smart. She's like a genius. She's super intelligent and has a lot of really strong opinions about things and has a book about parenting that's out. I haven't read. I've heard it's kind of extreme, but you know, more power to you. And then she comes back and does something completely different than what she did before. And she's been a really integral part of the Big Bang Theory family, which is a whole other part of geek culture that I'm not even going to talk about. So that's a bit of a rambly video, but I just kind of wanted to talk about some of the women that are a big part of the geek culture and a big part of defining us apart from the comic book world or the early sci-fi world that does sort of tend to objectify women. People like Emma Watson and Jennifer Lawrence, who are really crossing that barrier from the geek culture to pop culture and are trying their best to change the way that actresses interact with young women. And I think it's really cool. Thank you so much for sending in your comments and your suggestions. I promise I've been taking them into consideration, but the way I do videos means I have to be really excited about something before I can sit down and talk about it at a camera for 10 minutes. So it just kind of has to wait until something strikes my fancy one day. So thank you so much for putting up with some rather interesting videos the last couple of days, as well as my absence yesterday. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciated it. It's been super encouraging. Bye, guys. Oh, my hair does weird things. Okay. Typically, the girls that are, for me, on the other end of the spectrum, in the geek culture, I'm having a really hard time talking today. I don't quite know why. May Bialik? I don't know how to say her name.